Welcome to the Easy Peasy Methodcast, your favorite cozy corner for diving deep into the journey of breaking free from pornography addiction. I'm your host, and today we're talking about something that's not just important, it's transformative. Together with a little AI magic, I aim to create thematic summaries that make the process of quitting porn not just doable, but life changing. Remember, understanding the addiction trap is your smooth path to breaking free, and I'm thrilled to share this journey with you. Now let's dive into a fascinating book that has helped countless individuals find clarity and freedom. Your Brain on Porn by Gary Wilson. Wilson unpacks the intricate ways pornography interacts with and rewires our brains, especially in today's hyper-connected world. Whether you're a casual consumer of such material or someone looking for a life reset, Wilson's insights provide a roadmap to reclaiming your brain's natural wiring. Let's start with a basic understanding. Pornography, especially in its internet form, doesn't just provide fleeting entertainment. It hijacks your brain's reward system, the part responsible for feeling pleasure from food, relationships, or sex. Over time, this hijacking can lead to addiction, a sort of neurological takeover where your brain demands more extreme content to feel the same thrill. Sounds a little scary, right? Well, it is, but understanding the mechanics makes all the difference. Wilson identifies several key neurological effects of porn addiction, and let me tell you, they're eye-opening. First, we have dopamine dysregulation, where the brain's pleasure chemical is overstimulated, leaving everyday joys feeling flat and dull. Then there's neuroplasticity, the brain's incredible ability to rewire itself. With frequent pornography use, your brain builds connections that prioritize the thrill of digital content over the natural intimacy of real-life relationships. It's like training your brain to crave what ultimately harms you. Another big player here is the prefrontal cortex, the brain's decision-making headquarters. Chronic exposure to pornography weakens this area, making it harder to resist cravings or break free from compulsive behaviors. It's similar to what happens with substance abuse, where impulse control takes a nosedive. Add to that the escalation of content, needing more and more extreme material for the same dopamine hit, and you've got a perfect storm for addiction. But wait, it's not just about rewiring your brain to crave pornography. There's a social cost too. Addiction often leads to social isolation and mental health struggles. People pull away from friends, family, and meaningful connections, sinking deeper into anxiety, depression, and loneliness. And here's the kicker. This self-perpetuating loop makes it even harder to break out. Now, one of the most troubling effects of pornography addiction is sexual dysfunction, particularly among young men. It's a phenomenon Wilson refers to as porn-induced erectile dysfunction, PIED. Essentially, the brain becomes so accustomed to the supercharged novelty of online pornography that real-life sexual encounters no longer excite it. Imagine being in the prime of your life and feeling disconnected from intimacy. That's what PIED looks like. And it's happening to more people than you might think. So, what's going on here? Let's zoom in on dopamine, the neurotransmitter that's both our best friend and worst enemy. Dopamine is a motivator, pushing us toward things that bring pleasure or satisfaction. Eating a delicious meal? Dopamine. Hugging a loved one? Dopamine again. But with pornography, the brain gets an unnatural flood of this feel-good chemical, over and over again, creating a cycle of overstimulation. Here's where things get messy. With repeated exposure, the brain starts needing more dopamine just to feel normal. Everyday pleasures, like hanging out with friends, enjoying nature, or even having sex, lose their luster. This is called tolerance, and it's the brain's way of coping with constant overstimulation. Users escalate to more extreme content, not necessarily because they want to, but because their brain demands it. Over time, these patterns become deeply ingrained, making quitting feel almost impossible. But wait, there's hope. Wilson explains how our brains can heal through a process called rebooting. Rebooting isn't about erasing your past, it's about giving your brain a much-needed rest from artificial stimuli. When you abstain from pornography, your brain slowly begins to rewire itself, restoring its sensitivity to natural rewards like relationships and real-world intimacy. The brain is incredibly resilient, and with time and patience, it can bounce back. Rebooting, though, isn't without its challenges. Early on, many people experience withdrawal symptoms, things like mood swings, brain fog, or even depression. These symptoms aren't permanent, they're just signs that your brain is adjusting to life without the dopamine surges it's gotten used to. Think of it as a storm before the calm. Another hurdle is dealing with triggers and urges. These can come from anywhere: a memory, an image, or even a moment of boredom. Wilson emphasizes the importance of being mindful of these triggers and having strategies in place to manage them. Whether it's going for a walk, calling a friend, or diving into a new hobby, distractions can be powerful tools. Now let's talk about desensitization, one of the trickiest parts of the addiction cycle. This happens when the brain's reward system becomes numb to everyday pleasures. Things that used to light up your world, like a partner's smile or the satisfaction of a job well done, barely register anymore. It's like your brain's joy dial got turned way down. The solution? Abstinence and time. By stepping away from artificial stimulation, you allow your brain to recalibrate, rediscovering joy in the little things. Another concept Wilson discusses is delta phos-B, a protein that builds up in the brain during repeated exposure to addictive behaviors. Think of it as the brain's addiction switch. The more you engage in a behavior, the more delta phos-B accumulates, solidifying those neural pathways. The good news? Just as those pathways were built, they can be weakened through abstinence. It's like clearing a path in the woods. The less you walk it, the more it fades away. Now, let's tackle the big elephant in the room: escalation. This is where things can get really uncomfortable for users. Many people find themselves watching content that doesn't align with their values or preferences, all because their brain craves novelty. It's important to remember that this isn't a reflection of who you are. It's a symptom of the addiction. Wilson encourages readers to let go of shame and approach recovery with compassion. After all, beating yourself up only fuels the cycle. One of my favorite parts of your brain on porn is the success stories. These are real accounts from individuals who've gone through the rebooting process and come out stronger, healthier, and happier. For some, it's about regaining focus and energy. For others, it's rediscovering the joy of real relationships. These stories remind us that recovery isn't just possible, it's worth it. Take the example of someone who went 500 days without pornography. In that time, they noticed improvements in everything from concentration to social interactions. They even described their real-life intimacy as more fulfilling than they'd ever imagined. It's stories like these that keep us motivated, showing that the rewards of quitting go far beyond the absence of addiction. But let's be real, the journey isn't easy. It requires patience, perseverance, and a willingness to face uncomfortable truths. There will be setbacks, and that's okay. The key is to keep moving forward, one day at a time. Wilson emphasizes that recovery isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Every small victory, whether it's resisting a trigger or enjoying a simple pleasure, is a step in the right direction. Ultimately, Your Brain on Porn isn't just a book about quitting pornography. It's a guide to reclaiming your brain, your relationships, and your sense of self. It's about understanding the science behind addiction and using that knowledge to break free. So, if you're ready to start your journey, remember this: you're not alone, and your brain is more capable of healing than you might think. That's it for today's episode of the Easy Peasy Methodcast. Remember, breaking free from addiction isn't about willpower. It's about understanding and strategy. Keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, keep believing in yourself. You've got this, and I'm here to cheer you on every step of the way. Until next time, take care and stay easy peasy. Spread the love, my friends. Share this podcast on forums, give the Easy Peasy method a spotlight on your socials, and tell your friends about it. Together, we can help others escape the porn trap and start enjoying life to the fullest.